At the edge of a quiet village, where the roads softened into dust and the air smelled of wet earth and jasmine, lived an old woman named Amina. Her house was small, built of sun-warmed brick, with a blue wooden door that creaked kindly when it opened. A fig tree leaned over the roof as if listening, and every morning birds gathered there, filling the air with gentle noise. Amina's days were simple. She woke before sunrise, boiled tea on a blackened stove, and sat on the front step as light slowly touched the fields. People often noticed one thing about her. She was always calm. Not cheerful in a loud way, not careless or unaware of pain, but calm like a river that knows its path. Some days brought heat and hunger. Some brought memories that weighed heavily on her chest. Yet Amina moved through them with a quiet steadiness. One afternoon, a young man named Rashid came to the village. He was a school teacher from the town, sent to help for a few months. His clothes were neat but dusty from travel, and his face carried the tired look of someone who thought too much. He asked for directions, and Amina invited him to sit in the shade. She poured tea, the steam curling upward, and listened as he spoke about his worries. The school lacked books. The children were restless. His plans never seemed to work as he imagined. As he talked, a dry wind passed through the yard, rattling the fig leaves. Amina nodded, her eyes following the movement of light on the ground. When he finished, she smiled, not as an answer, but as an understanding. Rashid noticed the cracks in her cup, carefully repaired with wire. He noticed the thinness of her shawl. "You seem content," he said, almost unsure of the word. "How do you stay happy in all this?" Amina lifted her cup and drank slowly. The tea was bitter, but warm. She placed it down and looked at the fields beyond her door. "Happiness," she said, "is not something I wait for. It is something I carry." She told him about her life, not in lessons, but in moments. She spoke of the years when rain did not come and the soul turned hard. She spoke of losing her husband young, of raising a child who later left for the city and never returned. Each memory arrived softly, like footsteps on sand, and passed the same way. "When my husband died," she said, "I thought happiness had died too. I waited for it to come back. I waited in good news, in other people, in better days. But waiting made me bitter, so I stopped waiting." The sun lowered, painting the yard gold. Rashid listened, his hands resting on his knees, the noise of his thoughts finally quiet. Amina continued, "I learned to greet each day as it is. When there is bread, I am grateful. When there is none, I am patient. When my heart feels heavy, I sit with it. I do not fight the moment, because fighting only adds pain." The next weeks passed, and Rashid often visited after school. Sometimes Amina was sweeping, sometimes mending cloth, sometimes simply watching the road. Their conversations were unhurried. She never told him to be positive or to ignore his problems. Instead, she showed him how she lived. One morning, rain began suddenly, turning dust into mud. Rashid arrived soaked and frustrated. The roof of the school leaked, and lessons had been canceled. He expected Amina to complain with him, but she stood in the doorway, her face lifted, letting the cool drops touch his skin. "This rain," she said, "will ruin my firewood, but it will feed the fields." Both things are true. She placed a pot beneath the leak inside her house. The steady drip became a rhythm. Rashid watched as she adjusted to the moment, neither resisting nor celebrating blindly. Something inside him loosened. Days later, a traveler passed through the village and mocked Amina's small home, her old clothes, her quiet life. Rashid felt anger rise, but Amina only smiled and offered water. After the man left, Rashid asked how she could remain peaceful. "Other people's words," she said, "are like weather. I notice them, but I do not let them decide my direction." As the season changed, Rashid began to change too. When the children were loud, he breathed before speaking. When plans failed, he looked for what remained possible. He still felt disappointment, but it no longer ruled him. He carried himself differently, steadier, lighter. On his last evening in the village, the sky burned orange and purple. Rashid sat with Amina beneath the fig tree. Crickets sang, and the air cooled. "I think I understand now," he said quietly. Happiness is not the absence of trouble. It is the way you meet it. Amina smiled, her eyes reflecting the fading light. Yes, she said. Life will always change. Amina was still there, small against the wide fields, steady as ever, carrying her happiness gently, in every situation, as the evenings settled around her.